Getting established. The many forces from the now destroyed dimensions began to establish themselves as forces to be reckoned with. Their goals were simple: conquer the galaxies they were in, and then make a play for the universe as a whole. We'll start off with the Manakan power. Chief among these was Omri Manaka, the approaching middle-aged leader who nearly took over all of the dimensions during the height of his power. Along the way of his conquest, he continues to be haunted by the loss of his close friends, Adol Azul and Noel, who gave their lives to protect him in the last war. Also, more dear to his heart was the loss of his close advisor and family member, Bali Manaka. Omri Manaka vows that he would not allow any more close to him to die without them seeing his dreams of total power come to pass. Foes that were still around were that of his younger sister, Brianna Manaka, whom is a leader in her own right. As Omri's number 2 in the Manakan forces, Brianna is close to her brother and loves to fight by his side. We also have C. Manaka, who is the Chaldean badass from the group, with his forceful style with his punches and swordplay. He helps to bring many of Omri's foes to knee. Lastly, on Omri's side, we have the widow of Bali Manaka, Sonia. Sonia, like her husband, believes in Omri and uses her wisdom and wit to aid Omri in his dreams of power. However, the people that led the Manaka galaxy currently were in no mood to fight for Omri's cause. Omri thought he could have trusted the ruler of Clayton Insuran with all of his secrets, given that they were of the same Insuran people. But Clayton wasn't ready to play ball. The thing that turned him off this galaxy leader was that Omri channeled the spirits of their former galaxy's 2 evil founders, that being Manaka Insuran and Insuran Manaka. Clayton and the leaders of the Manaka galaxy before vowed never to follow the evil of their founders or anyone like them again. And for a long time the galaxy knew peace ever since. Now Clayton and his group, those outsiders, want to bring war. Clayton and his second-in-command, Sherman Insuran, were opposed to Omri and his dreams of power. Sherman is Clayton's cousin, who like many enjoyed the peace that they all shared. He would be damned if he would let Omri ruin it. As Brianna, C, and Sonia held off the enemies with cunning and brute strength, Omri, realizing that he can't win over the people of his galaxy with the powers that he has now, decided that he must go into hiding and exorcise these demons that lay in his blades. So he goes to the mountains to meditate and to train to expel Manaka Insuran and Insuran Manaka and their wills out of his blades. He conquered and faced them head-on spiritually as the 2 demons tried desperately to escape their chains in hell by channeling their power within his blades and possessing him to come back to the universe to reign hell. However, Omri during his 100 years is meditating and growing stronger both physically and mentally, and he overgrew and overpowered these demons, exorcising them and returned them back to their cells in hell. While all this was going on, Omri was secretly being watched by a seasoned warrior who was interested in his progress. After months of endurance, Omri had successfully rid himself of the two evil spirits of his people's past. Now he was a new man who had great power of his own. In the meantime, Sonia's wise tactics were outmaneuvering the novice armies of Clayton despite their home advantage. Clayton had no choice but to call upon Deshaun Monaco to aid them. Deshaun is the only person in their group who hated the peace as he was bored of it all. She went to face him, but he was proved to be too much even for this badass to handle. Just when Omri's forces were about to be in trouble, Omri had returned. All that saw him felt a different aura coming from him. It was as if he was a different man. All were stunned on both sides, except for Teshon, who awaited for this day to come. Omri acknowledged Teshon as a seasoned warrior that was spying on him during his training. Sherman was mad as to finally learn where the top fighter was up to all this while. Clayton was mad as well, but Teshon didn't attack Omri before he gotten stronger. Teshon shut both of them up and wanted to challenge a new and improved Omri. This fight would decide the fate of the Mankan Insuran galaxy as a whole. Omri thanked C for holding out for so long, and now the real fight was going to begin. Omri and Teshon duked it out and clashed. The atmosphere was bleak as each man with lightning precision clashed their swords, waiting for a showdown to begin, as that was the warm-up. The showdown began. Shock waves blasted off their swords and blades as they clashed with one another. Omri went for a side kick, but Teshon brushed him off. Omri then went for stabs, but Teshon also dodged them, and then their swords clashed some more. And then Teshon did a backflip and tried to use a powerful sword attack, which Omri dodged, and the sword attack then cut down a near mountain and obliterated it. Teshon knew that he finally got Omri where he wanted him, but Omri was just playing coy. And so Omri then did a swing with one of his swords and stood on it and used the other sword to attack Teshon. Teshon then went to attack the sword that Omri was standing on, but however, it was a trap. When he touched the sword, a powerful blast hit Teshon, thus knocking him out. Because you see, Omri channeled all his energy to that sword, and if Teshon or anyone had touched it, it would be a mighty explosion, which in fact did happen. And so, Teshon was greatly beaten, and Omri had won. As the dust settled, Omri stood tall over the beaten Teshon, who laid face down on the dirt. After that, the American forces quickly uprooted Clayton and Sherman and surrendered to Omri. Everyone thought that they were going to be killed by Omri, but Omri was not the same man that they fought against, and he knew this. So he told them that Monica was has entered a new age, and the spirits of its past are no more. Then he commanded that Caton and Sherman be free. And then the two exiles fell on their faces, thanking Omri for his mercy. With that, the Manican galaxy belonged to Omri, and the first step towards power was taken. Moving on to the Johnson Insuran. Likewise, with the Manica and the Johnson Insuran found themselves in a galaxy of the same name. The leader of the group was Sekinda Johnson, the wise and scheming friend of Brianna Manica. She helped Brianna in many of her battles to become the leader that she is today. Sekinda must find a way through this new environment to reach to her friend once more. Sekinda isn't alone, however. She is accompanied by her berserker son, Caden Johnson. This eccentric man fights with his giant metal whip that has broken bones and destroyed tanks and ships alike with ease. He vows to aid his parent no matter who or what has to be destroyed. The Johnson Insurance Galaxy was ruled by an old JS family. Johnson had great potential, but his ruling class were too lazy to lift a finger in this new troubling times. The heads of his family were that of the married couple J.S. Presenti and Mona J.S. They were very emotional people who would have mood swings and change laws on a whim, and not by reason or wisdom. To combat this issue, the lawmaking progress of the galaxy belonged to the small factions of the galaxy, whose vote, along with the ruling couples, would have to all agree in order to pass any new laws. This worked to bring stability for a time, but even this had its flaws. Thus many in the galaxy wanted change. Two factions and their leaders were Helder, who was the head of the Gen Broker faction, and Prunia, who was the head of the Metlef faction. Sekinda would first make contact with Prunia, and the two women would hit it off as close friends. Prunia saw how wise and calm under pressure Sekinda was. Soon, by Prunia's backing, Sekinda was introduced to Mona J.S., who was happy to meet a wise and capable woman in their circle. Sooner or later, the power structure was reshaped to allow Sekinda to be the fifth vote to make the laws. Still unknown to them, Sekinda was putting on an act. She knew that the current rulers would not agree to side with the Manica and aid them in their conquest. The J's laziness was a thorn in Sekinda's side, but she refused to tolerate any further. So she began to put her plans into motion to quietly overthrow the government that welcomed her. Here now is where we are introduced to the elder side of the Johnson Insurance. The Johnson of the universe, from its founder and the legendary John Johnson, was of the elder faith and a great hero in his own right. Over time, the elders started to lose influence in the galaxy, as many left to fight with the main elder forces in the wars of the dimensions. It's only a handful remained. Thus, only a handful remained. They were led by Obadiah Brefuna. He is the last of the once popular Brefuna people who were elders almost by birth. Obadiah had a bad feeling about Sekinda, as he had heard about her scheming ways in the dimensions. Obadiah had a powerful ally by his side, however. His name was Info. Info is the head of the Elder Army in the galaxy, who is known as the Orb Warrior. The reason for this is that he can summon giant orbs to fight by his side. Info lives to protect Obadiah at all cost. Back to Zakinda now, who convinces the law-making body to make her berserker son Caden to be the head commander of the Johnson Army. With this, phase 2 of her plan was complete. Getting into government was phase 1. Now, with the military under her control, she began the misinformation campaign to smear the JS family and leak embarrassing information about them. Suddenly, unrest was all around the galaxy as the people were tired of the JS rule. Presenti went to Obadiah for prayers and hope for a way out. However, Obadiah proclaimed that many of their past sins were finally in the light, and it would be hard to cover them up. Worse yet, he told Presenti that he let a snake into his tent, and now its fangs have poisoned him to the point of death. Presenti then took to heart of what the elder was saying, but before he could act, it was too late. Caden and the army had come to arrest Presenti and the elders for being enemies of the state. You see, Zakinda persuaded Helden and Prinia to join her side to stop the chaos that she had caused by exposing the JS family. In exchange, Zakinda would not expose their crimes. To make things more convincing, Zakinda had Mona secretly poisoned by a wine glass dipped in toxin. She then put the blame on Mona's husband, claiming he wanted to silence her for the bad family leaks and that the elders were in on it. So Infa and his arms fought off against Caden, but his giant metal whip was breaking all the orbs, so the elders had to flee the galaxy. They decided to go to the Guardian Galaxy as it was an elder-friendly one. As they were about to board the ship, Presenti stayed behind to fight for his lost love, letting his emotions get the better of him again. Obadiah went after him, but Infa lifted him up on his shoulders and ran towards the ship. As Presenti was now a lost cause, Obadiah then prayed for Presenti's soul as Presenti went to fight Caden in a very one-sided fight. Caden smashed JS Presenti's skull open, killed him, and then the rest of the JS family until none were left. In fact, the elders escaped their home as Zakinda now ruled all of the galaxy to welcome cheers and fireworks. The other Insuran forces from the dimensions, part of the Napaka, the Nuwa, the Bath Hathon Insuran and Colonial, and Atlan Insuran powers, found little to no resistance in the galaxies of their heritage. Thus, within the first 100 years, they became the dominant forces in their galaxies. Now, the only thing left to do was to make contact with each other.